Good morning, and thank you very much for joining me again today, 31 January 2020. And today we want to look at the 3 interviews that Nelson Chamisa had this week here in South Africa. My opinion is that Nelson Chamisa struggled a lot with these 3 interviews. Nelson Chamisa, he failed to answer certain key questions that were asked by the interviewers, and the Nelson Chamisa that I'm seeing now is very different from the Nelson Chamisa that we were seeing before the elections. I see some loss of confidence in Nelson Chamisa. I see some hesitation. This is not the Nelson Chamisa that we used to see before. But let me go into a bit of detail, then we'll conclude. So Nelson Chamisa had an interview at ETV, at SABC, and he also had an interview at Newsroom Africa. All these 3 interviews put together were approximately 1 hour. So at ETV, they asked me a lot about Thabo Mbeki. What is it that Thabo Mbeki was coming to Zimbabwe to do? What is happening with the dialogue? What is happening with the way forward? Nelson Chamisa said that he did not initiate the discussion that they had in Zimbabwe. Thabo Mbeki is the one who came to Zimbabwe, and Thabo Mbeki is the one who is supposed to take the process forward. And in this particular interview, this interviewer was very friendly to Nelson Chamisa. They did not ask him difficult questions. And Nelson Chamisa also got a chance to describe the problems that are there in Zimbabwe. And Nelson Chamisa does very, very well when it comes to describing the situation on the ground, what is wrong. Nelson Chamisa does a very, very good job. The weakness in this particular interview was, what role does Thabo Mbeki play in the dialogue in Zimbabwe? If there are problems, what role is Thabo Mbeki playing? Should Thabo Mbeki be the mediator? Does Nelson Chamisa want Thabo Mbeki to lead this process? What is the next step? And particularly, there is talk of African institutions. What role are these African institutions supposed to play? What is it that Nelson Chamisa is doing right now to make sure that these African institutions know what dialogues are taking place and what is the required outcome? There was a bit of hesitation there. I did not get a clear answer from Nelson Chamisa as to what is it that he wants from the dialogue. Thabo Mbeki specifically, what is his role? What does Nelson Chamisa want him to do? That was not very clear. Then the next interview at SABC, this interview, I feel it was a setup. Nelson Chamisa was set up to go into this interview. I don't know who set him up, but these guys at SABC, they wanted to trap Nelson Chamisa on the issue of sanctions. They wanted him to say his positions on sanctions. Did you call for sanctions? Did you call for the Americans to special forces to come and attack Zimbabwe? They spent a lot of time on sanctions, on whether Nelson Chamisa is selling out the African struggle to the United States. So in this particular interview, Nelson Chamisa expressed his disappointment that Idi Mnangagwa did not want to talk to him. He has been talking about this a lot, that Idi Mnangagwa does not want to talk to him. But this interviewer, he kept asking him questions about Thabo Mbeki. What is happening with Thabo Mbeki? What should Thabo Mbeki's role be? What did you guys discuss in December? A lot of detail that this interviewer wanted. And I think Nelson Chamisa needs to clarify, because this is the second interview where he was asked this. He needs to clarify what he wants Thabo Mbeki to do or say. What is it that he wants from a dialogue with Mnangagwa when he says Mnangagwa should call me? what is it that Nelson Chamisa wants to say to Mnangagwa? What does he want Mnangagwa to say to him? I think this portion is not clear to many people, because if you are saying Mnangagwa is not legitimate, why do you need him to call you? And when he calls you, are you going to ask him to step down or what? That's the reason basically why Mnangagwa is not calling Chamisa, because he's saying you don't recognize me, so why do you want me to call you? So Nelson Chamisa, in future interviews, I think he needs to make this clear. What is it that he wants from Becky? What is it that he wants from Mnangagwa? Because Mnangagwa is not calling him, and he's saying it himself. Now let's go to the third interview at Newsroom Africa. And this was the most difficult interview for Nelson Chamisa. This interview was about 40 minutes long, and Nelson Chamisa, as usual, described the problems. He knows how to describe what is wrong in Zimbabwe. But when it comes to the question of legitimacy, Nelson Chamisa was not able to describe what is going to happen. What is he going to do about the illegitimacy of Mnangagwa? So he was asked if he still didn't recognize Mnangagwa after 2 years. And Chamisa said he doesn't recognize Mnangagwa after 2 years of the elections. Then when they asked them, okay, what are you going to do to make sure that this illegitimacy does not continue? Nelson Chamisa was not able to say in detail or in a specific way what he's going to do. This was a very big problem in this particular interview. Many people would be questioning themselves, are these guys able to define a proper way forward? Nelson Chamisa obviously came out with Agenda 2020, the 5 fights. But as I said last week, those fights are not actionable. You cannot take those fights and say the fight against corruption, the fight for democracy. It's very theoretical. Specifically, Chamisa was asked, are you going to make it difficult for Mnangagwa to rule? Are you going to topple him? Are you going to remove him? What are you going to do? And he was not able to answer these questions. So I think, and I want to say this as an opinion, my view is that Nelson Chamisa and his leadership team, they need to strategize again. I think the strategies that they've come up with, they won't be able to take them to the next level, which is to take over in Zimbabwe. While Nelson Chamisa agrees that the elections won't work in 2023, he's looking at people outside the MDC to solve the problem, to help the MDC to come into power, which won't happen. The SABC, Idi Mnangagwa, the army, Thabo Mbeki, they won't be able to help Nelson Chamisa until Mnangagwa starts feeling the heat. At the moment, Mnangagwa is not feeling the heat. Nelson Chamisa is not making things difficult for Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa is relaxed. As we speak right now, Mnangagwa does not even worry about Nelson Chamisa. Although the situation is ripe in Zimbabwe for things to happen because of the approach that Nelson Chamisa is using, where he's saying this government is too powerful, they use too much force, I won't be able to go up against them. They are relaxed. They are sitting there knowing that nothing is going to happen. He needs, and here when I say he needs, I mean Nelson Chamisa and his leadership team. They need to make things difficult for Mnangagwa. And these interviews that we saw this week, they exposed that fact that there is no plan to make life difficult for Mnangagwa. So Mnangagwa does not feel any pressure at the moment and is just ignoring the MDC, is ignoring Chamisa. Now I want to touch on the issue of Thokozani Kupe. I feel that Nelson Chamisa and his leadership team, they are not understanding the impact of Thokozani Kupe. He was asked about the many number of MDCs, and I don't think Nelson Chamisa handle that part properly. I think right now Chamisa should be trying to work on how to bring back Thokozani Kupe into the MDC. She doesn't have a big following, but it's causing distraction. So everywhere he goes, when he's in an interview, he has to spend 3 minutes dealing with Thokozani Kupe. When he's talking about Bulawayo, people there will be talking about Thokozani Kupe. So this issue of Thokozani Kupe needs to be dealt with. This is something that you cannot ignore. Also, Nelson Chamisa needs to look at other opposition parties, coalitions. 2023 is very, very close. We are left with 2 years, and we should be planning now for the next election. If there's no demonstrations, then the next thing is the elections. It should be better to be planning for both. What if there's an election? What if there's no election? So he should be working now on a plan. He should be setting up a plan for working on the 2023 elections, because basically these other plans that they have, they're not working, they're not articulating them enough to the audience. And this is where I want to end. The audience, is Nelson Chamisa in touch with the audience? When he's in South Africa, does he understand how the South African audience views him? When he's in Zimbabwe, does he understand how the Zimbabwean audience views him? Because sometimes I feel like Chamisa forgets that people have certain expectations about him. They want certain outcomes. People want Chamisa to bring change. He speaks well, but on the action part, people want action, and Chamisa needs to be addressing that desire for action which people have got. And I think in these particular 3 interviews, Nelson Chamisa struggled because he's not in touch with that desire for action that people have got. People want change. They do not want talk. They do not want to compromise with Mnangagwa. They do not want dialogue. The people who want dialogue are the leaders. People on the ground want ZANU-PF to be removed, and then they move on to the next stage. So this is it. This is the summary that I brought you this morning. Nelson Chamisa struggling a lot in his 3 interviews here in South Africa this week. I'll be back later in the afternoon. I'll give you an update on the coronavirus. Please go on to Gambako Entertainment and look at the updates that we gave there yesterday. China refusing to give the virus copy to the World Health Organization. What is happening there? Please go and have a look, and thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this on WhatsApp, please forward this to as many people as possible. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, please like, comment, and share.